Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country, your bank, and Smart, bringing people together.
Live from the GBM studios in Belize City, it's Open Your Eyes. Start your morning right with your hosts, April Martinez and Desani Caetano.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes. I am Isani Caetano.
And I'm April Martinez. Good morning. Morning,
Good
Isani.
morning, April. Today is Monday, the 13th of
Yes,
April.
it is already mid-April. What that means for you, though?
It means that my kids are back in school.
That means that they're
and
happy.
all primary and high schoolers return to school this morning
Yes,
after
they
a
do.
well-rested Easter vacation.
Like 2 weeks is a lot. Okay, 2 weeks is a lot. They're ready for go
Not a
back?
lot. That's good time.
They're ready for go back?
Look, I'll tell you, my son was excited. My
Okay.
daughter, not so much.
Okay, well, we don't know already who likes school.
My
who
daughter
enjoy
has
it.
SB,
Oh, okay,
and my
no.
son is just happy to get out of the house.
And go back to his friends and hang out at school.
Yes,
No,
yes.
I don't
But
blame your daughter, though.
It's a beautiful Monday morning. We started off with some showers this morning, but
Yes.
there were showers of blessings, right? So we're not a complain. But tell you what,
Tell
let's
me.
get into what we're going to be discussing this morning, all right? So here are our conversations for this morning. We have, first of all, an interview with the NDAC as they discuss raising awareness for responsible drinking. We'll also have the Belize Family Life Association as they join us to advocate for accessible family planning. Next, we will have a conversation on holistic health in focus at the SDA event. And of course, finally, Drinks by Moon brings new flavor to the scene.
Nice.
Those are our conversations this morning in our lineup. April, take it away.
All right, Asani, thank you so much. That is our show lineup for this morning. But before you leave your homes, here are the 5 things that we think you need to know. Our first conversation kind of kicks off from last week, where we now have the Ministry of Health and Wellness response to the prescription concerns. We had a lengthy discussion about that during our What the Friday. So make we know what you think about the Minister of Health and Wellness response. We'll get into that and more later on. And then we also have a topic of discussion on questions raised about handling evidence from drug plane. There was a major drug bust, I think on Friday, if I'm not mistaken, Friday night, as we had an illegal plane landing in the north. So we'll have a lot more to discuss on that front. U.S. to launch blockade on Iran ports. Yes, guys, we still did talk about the Strait of Hormuz and other ports around the Middle East. Are they being blocked by the U.S. government? That naturally affects us. We see that last week the gas prices went up again. Tell us your thoughts about that. On our other topic, Dr. Carla Barnett still gets support throughout the CARICOM of her reappointment as the CARICOM General Secretary, even though the Trinidadian opposition is in opposition of that. And finally, Caye Caulker is set to hold a peaceful protest. Now, there are major discussions over at Caye Caulker. There has been a complete demolition of the old police department there. They want to be able to use now the basketball court to have certain things being constructed for the police department. The people of Caye Caulker are saying no. And so let us know your thoughts about that. But Isane, I really want to talk about the Ministry of Health and Wellness response to the prescription regulations. On Friday, we had so many people call in to tell us about what they thought about it. And it's not just contraceptives, it's so many other prescription drugs as well that are being regulated, and they're not even being available through NHI.
All right, we could put all of that on the side right now, right? Check this out. I think what had us all on Friday was the Prime Minister's interview where he admitted that his wife, the special envoy, in a personal conversation, husband and wife, at their home in Belmont, in Orange Walk,
Walk.
sorry. Ask the man, we're gonna know, no knock on the head.
You know, when we
Right?
when we had her on the show, she was asked, do you advise your husband on certain things? You talk to him? And she's like, yes, I have to tell him when certain things or what she thinks isn't right, or there perhaps we would need to have a little bit more thought on certain decisions. So I'm very glad that he did point that out.
But this is all in the context of women's health, in essence, right? Because when we look at the idea of now having to get a prescription for what we have been used to for all these years as simple over-the-counter purchases, and you put contraception in that conversation, it does not necessarily bode well for women who have been accessing these services, who have been accessing these items, if I could describe it as such, right? Now, the government is forced to rethink. If we go back to what the Prime Minister was saying on Friday, he's saying, look, not everything that we see being implemented in other countries we can simply adopt and expect it to be effective here. We have to kind of tailor certain things for we liking based on our work for the Belizean people, right? And so this is one of them. I also go back a bit, April, to the conversation that Joan Burke had in our lead story on Friday.
Yes.
Now, Joan Burke is the executive director for the Belize Family Life Association. I believe she's going to be joining us later in the show, right? But it puts it into proper context, right? BFLA was established to do just this, raise awareness on women's health issues, including birth control and contraception, family planning, so on, right? And when you take a move like what the government sought to do, I say sought because I know there's a rethink now, and the minister has weighed in on it. But when you take a move like this, without necessarily looking at what the immediate effect would be, right? I think it kind of shows that perhaps we're a bit out of touch with what the reality on the ground is. And the United Democratic Party was first out the gate with their opposition to the whole thing, right? Earth Lopez also spoke on this matter.
Yes.
She's the Shadow Minister of Health. She came forward and said, well, look, this thing not take into consideration women in rural communities.
I was gonna touch on that. No, because I think that for a lot of us, I understand that throughout. I believe from last year, leading up to this year, before the statement went out on April 1st, there were several consultations that the Ministry of Health and Wellness were having in different parts of the country. However, Isani, I think that you missed the mark. I understand that you consult with perhaps medical professionals, you know, families and the public, but the majority is not necessarily centered in urban areas. A lot of the people are spread out throughout the rural parts of the country. Take a good example of Stan Creek West, right, where all of these pockets of villages and so forth are very much spread along the coast, along the area of Stan Creek West. Not even the minister could get to all of those places as much as he wants in a particular amount of time, right? Can you imagine if you have a prescription, there is no clinic in sight, and you have to perhaps go all the way to like the nearest clinic, which is perhaps an hour, 2 hours away, just to go get your consultation, then get your prescription, which is perhaps maybe not even at that clinic. You have to go find a pharmacy, right? And maybe that pharmacy doesn't have the drugs that you need, right? So it already gives you an entire day or 2 days of trying to just get your medication, right? It doesn't necessarily help, and this is long before this regulation, by the way. This is just giving you more of a restriction on what you would need to get your medication in on time.
All right, allow me to very briefly read from what the statement from the Ministry of Health and Wellness says, right? And I'll not read it in its entirety, I'll just read a part of it. It says here, in recent weeks, there has been growing public concern regarding the dispensing of prescription medicines in pharmacies across Belize. As part of our ongoing commitment, the MOHW is providing a detailed update regarding the availability and safe use of over-the-counter OTC and prescription medicines across the country. The ministry clarifies that no new regulation requiring prescriptions has been implemented. This requirement has always existed, as prescription medicines require proper diagnosis and medical oversight, to ensure safe and proper use. Furthermore, the ministry has not taken any abrupt enforcement action that would disrupt access to medicines for the public. In fact, the MOHW has conducted consultation sessions with the public as well as with the Pharmacy Association over the last year regarding improving access to medicines and ensuring their safe usage. Final paragraph from me here, April.
Yes.
To ensure continued access to medicines, OTC medicines exist in Belize. These are general sales OTC and pharmacy sales OTC. These medicines are considered safe to use without the oversight of a doctor and continue to be available in pharmacies and stores in Belize without a prescription.
Yeah.
Right? That's just part of what the ministry has issued in terms of a statement on this matter. But it goes back to the issue at hand. Women's access to contraceptives.
It's not, I think it goes beyond that issue though, Isane, because while we did open with that conversation,
Where I
yes,
get to that too.
right, we opened, no, on Friday
Yeah.
we did open with that because that's kind of the bombshell that dropped this entire conversation, right?
Yeah.
That kind of over restriction on women's health. But we were receiving calls on our morning show on Friday with people talking about diabetes, hypertension medication, and so forth. And we were also corrected that NHI doesn't supply some of these drugs. And so if you're telling people, well, okay, you have the access to NHI to be able to kind of subsidize some of that cost, the medication is probably not readily available through NHI. And so there's so many different conversations that are taking place surrounding this prescription regulation, if you will.
So if we're to switch just for a second from the idea of birth control pills, for instance, or an injection, and look at what people who are living with diabetes now have to deal with, right? Also, as part of our conversation on Friday in the news, we spoke with a fellow cameraman, and he said, look, I'm diabetic, and for all these years, I just go to the pharmacy, request the medication that I need, and that has been given to me. So much so that the pharmacists know me on a first name basis because I did it every so often, right? Then this one time I went to Brody's pharmacy, and I requested the same drug, and then I'm being asked for a prescription, right? Now, he has to go back to Medical Associates, get a prescription from a doctor, and then return to Brody's pharmacy to make the purchase. And to me, it speaks to the fact that while there may have been consultation on this matter, it wasn't broad enough that everyone knew exactly what changes were coming, right? And I will say this, and I'm trying to be as objective and as fair to the conversation as possible here. Belizeans, we don't have a culture of
going to
attending consultations and taking consultations seriously.
Indeed.
So this may have been published in a newspaper, a notice may have been posted on Facebook, and so on and so forth, in terms of letting Belizeans know that there will be this open meeting where you're there to learn what changes are afoot, right? Man, now got a no meeting. So when this thing gets implemented or when the rollout begins, everybody is taken by surprise. When it's not necessarily a surprise if you were following all along and attending.
I agree. And I also would like it to take it a step further in terms of a solution, right? Because we have one complaint culture, but we don't provide solution. That's just my 2 cents and reality. But I think for certain solutions, if you're going to say, because I do agree, Isane, when it comes to women's health, that you should be consulted by a professional. Oral contraceptives can cause a lot of bodily harm. And I can say that on my own experiences and what it has done to me, right? As a young woman trying to, ensure that I am safe, right? And it doesn't necessarily bode well if you are a young girl that you try protect yourself, you try be safe, but you're also kind of shameful to go to the doctor, so you just take whatever cheap contraceptive they on the shelf. And then what does that do to you? It creates a series of hormonal imbalance because you don't know what you took. All you know is that you try prevent one level of safety, right? You're trying to obtain a level of safety, sorry. And so you go through all of these bodily changes that perhaps you didn't have to go through if you consulted a medical professional in the first place. Now, I understand, because I've also had to take consultations, how expensive that can be, especially on the private sector. So if you are trying to embody all of these regulations and telling us to be safe and it's for our own good, free consultations. If you're going to go to the rural areas, make sure that those mobile clinics have free consultations for those persons at least once a month. You have to go to these places to ensure that these girls are being properly advised on how to take these contraceptives. If you are willing to do something like that, I'm sure that you're going to have a better conversation with the public or a better reaction from the public.
All right, so that's just one of our
Just
trending
one.
conversations
Yes.
this morning,
We
right?
have to move on to the
When we
next
left
one.
on Friday evening, there was all this talk about an aircraft that flew from South America and was headed our way,
Yes.
right? And the aircraft landed in the Newland area of the northern part of this country, right? 2 Mexican pilots, 2 Belizeans got intercepted and arrested, right? So there is a haul of cocaine that was found on board this aircraft. And once again, I'll take to a statement that was provided by the Belize Police Department.
Yeah.
And I'll read verbatim, right? A successful operation conducted by Belizean security forces on April 10th, 2026, in the Newland area of the Corozal district resulted in the seizure of 551 and 3900 kilograms of suspected cocaine on board a Cessna aircraft and the arrest of 2 Mexican nationals. Our security forces tracked the aircraft as it departed from South America using feeds from partner nations. A 3-phase operation was initiated with intelligence units conducting surveillance of known and clandestine landing sites. This was followed by specialized units from the various agencies deploying to targeted locations across the country. At approximately 6:14 p.m. on April 10th, the aircraft landed in the Newland area. Our law enforcement team moved in and seized the aircraft and its contents, detaining 2 Mexican nationals believed to be the pilots, along with 2 Belizean nationals found in the area, right? So one other paragraph, if you'll allow me to extend a bit here, April. Please note that the ministry has not made all information public at this time, as a parallel investigation has been launched to determine the major players involved in this foiled shipment and in the ongoing transshipment of narcotics. Through strengthened law enforcement enhanced local and regional cooperation, and comprehensive prevention strategies, we will continue to confront these threats head on. Now, here's the thing for me, April. For a while, we haven't been discussing or reporting on plane landings, right? So I don't know if, these bad actors, so to speak, would have changed course and perhaps shipped their cargo by sea or any other alternate means, or took a different route to another country altogether. But this kind of comes at a time when we've been having this entire cartel conversation north of Belize, right? And then this aircraft lands
all of a sudden,
laden with cocaine. And 2 Mexican pilots, right? And 2 Belizeans who were found in the area who we believe may have facilitated the landing of the aircraft, or perhaps they were there to help discharge its cargo, whatever they were there for, right? But this is part of this broader conversation of regional and national security.
Yeah.
Because with Mexico bordering Belize in the north and part of the west, and this illegal activity continues to take place, you and I and other people who live in certain parts of the country who are closer to the border have some real issues to think about.
Yeah, I think that, well, for one, kudos to everybody involved and to assessing this particular plane landing and drug bust. But it makes me wonder then, Isani, I know we had a very good standing with the U.S. government at one time to be able to ensure that we got this technology to track these planes and so on, to ensure that our airspace is safe. But ever since, we switched governments and they switched governments and so forth, we've kind of seen like a dismissal, really, from Belize. You know, they focus mostly on Mexico and Guatemala and the bigger countries and so forth. So I'm hoping that that doesn't give other people a reason to feel like this is, now that we no longer have a particular amount of protection, that this is okay to do. We've shown now that we're able to protect and defend ourselves and ensure that we bring these people to justice. But we also have to work alongside with the Mexican government, right, to ensure the safety of the northern part of the country.
Well, I'll say this, right? And this is from my own observation from the news desk over the past 2 weeks or so. There has been a ramping up of efforts to seize illegal drugs flowing through the country, coming in or passing through, right? So if you remember, last week there was a major bust in Lord's Bank, right? There were drug busts elsewhere. These were marijuana, but this one is cocaine, but it's still a major bust and a success for the law enforcement teams, right? And despite the fact that many of us Belizeans are cynical, that's just who we are, right? You have to be able to acknowledge an effort, and a concerted one at that, when you see it, because it yields the fruits that we're seeing where people are getting arrested, drugs are being taken off the streets, and so on, right? I just hope that if they're building this momentum, that they're able to sustain it and continue this joint collaboration and everything going forward.
And just speaking of joint collaborations, not just between us and our Central American counterparts, let's get into the reappointment of Dr. Carla Barnett as the CARICOM General Secretary.
Yeah, that was a tricky one, because when they met in St. Kitts and Nevis fairly recently, a few weeks back, it would have seemed as if though Dr. Barnett had the full support of many of, if not all of the CARICOM member states, right? Then a few weeks later, Kamala Prasad Bisesar, the head of state for Trinidad, comes forward and raises certain questions. Or look, where to go on with Doc? I know that we support her reappointment for whatever reasons that were put forward, right? And then we began following this thing because it's a bit controversial, especially since Trinidad, who funds in part the operations of CARICOM, right, is saying, well, okay, we'll start a scale back on funding this thing. So we looked around the region. We asked our own officials here, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We spoke with the Prime Minister fairly recently, where they are saying, look, we throw our full support behind this woman. Other countries have said the same as well, right? But my question is, what are you going at Trinidad? What are you going at Trinidad?
They've kind of turned into a rightist country, it seems. You know what it reminds me of when I heard the statement by the TT leader, is it sounded almost Trumpian. Where, remember when Trump was like, well, the U.S. is supplying all of these other agencies with so much money and we're getting ripped off because we're not necessarily seeing the fruits of that labor,
Are you referring
right?
to the North Atlantic Treaty?
Just,
the NATO?
just something to that effect, right? So hearing her
pump so much money
and they're getting ripped off, right? But that's what it sounds like, right? Because like you said, TT supplies majority of the financial income for CARICOM, right? So for her to say, well, maybe we should scale back a little bit if we're not necessarily getting the seat at the table that we deserve, since we're supplying all of this money. But I think it goes back to something, and we should go back to something very quickly before we switch topics. When Minister Fonseca said that there hasn't been an election just yet. Her tenure doesn't end until August. This conversation just happened to take place in this meeting, and they were talking about re-elections and so forth. And everybody was saying, well, we're happy with Dr. Carla Barnett and her performance. We don't mind having her stay along. So there's not been an election yet. There's not been anything yet to say, well, she's still there. Her tenure ends in August. We'll see what happens after that. Right?
Nonetheless, up until this point, she enjoys the full support of the majority of the member states. All right, look, there's going to be a demonstration, a peaceful demonstration later today on La Isla Carinosa, right?
It's going to be peaceful, no air quotes.
But here's the thing though, here's the controversy of it. In January, I would say around mid-January, 14th if my memory serves me well, the Minister of Home Affairs was on record, right, for the contract signing of a new police building in Caye Caulker, right? And everybody may happy about this thing because look, well, they were, you know, build a new facility that meets the needs of this growing tourist destination and its residents and so on.
Yeah.
But no, the whole thing stalled, right? It came to a screeching halt. And when we started digging and asking around, okay, so what's going on? Well, apparently there was a land issue.
Yes.
Right? There's a serious land issue. And in my mind, I'm asking, well, before we signed contracts, broke ground and you know, did all the preparatory work or what have you, did we not tie down the land acquisition before all of this? Because I can build a new house April, but if I not secure the land, I make sure I got all the papers and the titles and everything in place and make sure that they never sell it for underneath me or whatsoever. If I haven't crossed my T's and dotted my I's,
Isani, I'll tell you something, right?
Serious business ahead.
I have a wonderful family and friends that live in Caye Caulker.
Yeah.
And then could tell your friend, then demolish the police station because it's right. If you know where this is taking place, it's right. As soon as you get from the dock, that's in your face, right?
Exactly.
Which is a very, very ugly sight to see. But the demolition
well,
of the police.
When I disembarked at Caye Caulker, I like to see the police station and say, okay, I'm secure.
That's what I'm saying. The
island.
demolition, all of that, that take place, and so for right where people are disembarking on. But a lot of the people there didn't even, one, know it was happening. Two, why it was happening. Three, who they funded, who they do it, why they didn't do it, when it happened. I'm telling you the truth.
Fair enough,
they
but
didn't
ignorance
know.
is no excuse.
But I'm just saying that
because if we run that item as a news story,
yes,
when there was, like I said, Oscar Mira was there, right? The contractor was there to sign. That was broadcasted. So for who never know that, and you live on the island, something wrong. I just say
people really felt misinformed, and now you ain't gonna use this next side for continue the project. And if your village council, they say, well, we were not informed, then something really wrong. I just damn it 2 cents. If your own leaders within your constituency did not inform you that this was taking place, then something is wrong.
And if I'm not mistaken, again, I'll jog my memory a bit here. I believe that the area representative for Belize Rural South was also present at that particular ceremony. I'll describe it as a ceremony. But yes, this would have been around mid-January, right?
Yeah.
That, again, Minister Mira went on record to say, look, this is a new project that we're taking on in Caye Caulker, right? You had the contractor there to sign the agreement or what have you, and everything seemed, you know, to be headed in the right direction. I go back to what I said initially though. If you live on the island, Caye Caulker is not the biggest island, right? It's not the biggest community. And I love it because I still feel homely because it's small. I don't live there. If you live there, you ought to know, look, these are certain changes that are happening, especially where law enforcement is concerned.
You ought to know, right? But
so it's just like if you tell me, April, that 2 weeks ago, the Belize Coast Guard inaugurated a forward operating base on the island. So if you are a resident of Caye Caulker, you're supposed to know that they happen in your community. It's not the biggest community, as I said. It's fairly small and homely.
I have a comment from a resident. It says, if you don't know Frankie, you don't know what that spot mean to we.
Okay, and I appreciate the value of the area, right?
Yes.
But if you're saying that you did not know that this was happening, then that's what I'm saying, something seems off.
Yeah, the problem with a lot of areas and small communities, I feel like people don't necessarily pay mind until something is happening.
Yeah.
Right? And I can't tell you if they watch We News, if they watch other news, if they watch anything, because it really seems that everybody is shocked at this decision, right? So I'm hoping to see if we hear anything from the representative of Belize Rural South to hear what he has to say about it.
I go back to this. I believe it's at 2 o'clock today, or sometime later in the
Yes.
course of the day, there will be this peaceful demonstration. We'll have someone on the ground in Caye Caulker, and of course, we'll get the sides from the village council and whoever else is there to share their position on this thing, right?
And it wasn't. We could discuss the U.S. to launch blockade of Iran's ports, Isani. But just really quickly, it wasn't on the 5 things. But I do feel like we do have to stress that the 16-year authoritarian regime in the state of Hungary in Europe has come to a final close. And we do want to say congratulations to the new Prime Minister, it's Peter Magyar. He won by a landslide, right? Which they didn't even think was going to happen. I just really needed to put that out there.
U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance was, in essence, instructed to go to Hungary and assist with the re-election of the then incumbent head of government there, right?
Yes.
And the man had...
He literally went to campaign for him.
Yeah, the man had that to deal with, and the man had the Iran conflict on the other hand.
Yeah.
Both heavy issues for them, right?
Yeah.
And the people of Hungary have decided, look, well, you know, after these many years, it's time for quote-unquote regime change, right?
Yes.
That's one of the buzzwords. That's one of the buzzwords we're throwing around lately, regime change.
Yes, but it definitely didn't feel, I have friends in Hungary, and it was almost like they still can't believe that it's over. And so just wanted to bring that up there and say congratulations to Peter Magyar on his victory. But Isani, that does it for our 5 things that we think you need to know. If there are any comments or so forth, please let us know in the comment section below. We got to move on to our weather update brought to you by the folks at the National Meteorological Service of Belize. All right, so for today's forecast, we mentioned early this morning that we had some showers of blessings, but there will be sunny skies today with cloudy intervals tonight. Skies will be partly cloudy. A few morning showers will develop mainly along the coastal areas. Thereafter, showers will become isolated. In our temperatures for today, along the coast, our highs and lows are 86 degrees and 78 degrees. Inland, we have highs and lows of 91 degrees and 70 degrees. And over on the hills, we have highs and lows of 78 degrees and 64 degrees. In our extended forecast for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we have similar temperatures along the coast and inland with highs and lows of 86 degrees and 90 degrees and 78 and 72 degrees on Tuesday. We have similar temperatures on Wednesday with highs of 86 degrees and 91 degrees and lows of 78 and 70 degrees. Moving on to Thursday, we have highs and lows of 86 degrees and 91 degrees and 78 degrees and 70 degrees. And we have those similar temperatures for Friday. In our astronomical forecast, the sun rose this morning at 5:38 a.m. and it was a beautiful sunrise, if I do say so myself. And the sun is scheduled to set at 6:08 p.m. The moon set is scheduled for 2:45 p.m. and tomorrow's moon rise is scheduled for 3:29 a.m. In our marine conditions, the sea state is choppy with winds blowing from the east to northeast at 10 to 20 knots. In our tide conditions, today's high tide is going to begin at 7:23 a.m. followed by a low at 1:13 p.m. Another high is scheduled for 7:18 p.m. and tomorrow's low is scheduled for 1:55 a.m. And that does it for our eye on the weather prepared by the National Meteorological Service of Belize. Sane, back to you.
All right, excellent job, April. We'll take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, it's all about raising public awareness on responsible drinking.
the Caye district, Caye Caulker is proving that sustainability and success can go hand in hand.
When Caye Caulker wanted to move to solar energy, the biggest difficulty for us was the finance. Belize Bank believed in our vision, and we are very happy and grateful that they gave us this opportunity for the financing.
Through the Credit Risk Abatement Facility, a partnership between Belize Bank and the CARICOM Development Fund, small and medium businesses can access financing for renewable and energy-efficient solutions with reduced collateral requirements.
Here at SCSB, we're grateful for Belize Bank to make it easy for our clients to go green. We're proud to work with businesses like Caye Caulker to help them lower their costs and their carbon footprint.
At Belize Bank, we are powering Belize's transition to renewable energy, one business at a time. Together with our partners, we're making sustainable financing accessible for all.
Belize Bank, financing a greener, stronger Belize.
Connection isn't something you switch on. It's something you build together.
Connected through culture.
Culture isn't preserved in silence. It's kept alive through participation.
Connected through education.
Education doesn't always look like a classroom. Sometimes it looks like someone taking the time to teach and someone else choosing to learn.
Connected through sports.
Before the wins, before the applause, there's belonging. Here, young people learn more than how to play. They learn how to stand together.
Connected through community.
Community isn't a campaign, it's showing up. Not once, but every time it matters.
Connected through you.
Behind every connection is a person who cares, people who listen, people who stay. We don't just connect services, we connect you to your world.
Connected through every chapter.
SMART, bringing people together.
The Social Security Board's new whistleblower reporting system makes it easy and confidential to speak up by reporting misuse of the Social Security services and benefits, including fraud, misconduct, false claims, and more. If you know of any unethical or illegal activity relating to SSB benefits, claims, or personnel, go to ssbspeakup.integrityline.com or use our toll-free hotline 0800-SPEAK-UP, 0800-773-2587. This confidential reporting system is a way for you to report concerns or incidents privately without fear of reprisal. Your submission is confidential and anonymous. The Social Security Board is committed to providing a secure, confidential medium for whistleblowing that promotes organizational accountability and enhances public confidence in our services.
Welcome back. Our first conversation is with the National Drug Abuse Control Council, and joining us on the couch we have Ariane Yearwood, and she is the outreach caseworker over at NDAP. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And we were just discussing that April is actually Alcoholism Awareness Month.
Wow.
So,
okay, I never know that.
Well, now we know. And so I imagine that there perhaps are several conversations that are taking place in NDAC when it comes to raising more awareness on alcoholism and what it does to consumers. So let's talk about what NDAC does and how we're able to get more information from you all.
Okay, so just a quick intro. My name is Ariane Yearwood. I am an outreach caseworker at the National Drug Abuse Control Council. Yes, April is Alcohol Awareness Month. We recently did a traffic stop last week whereby we just we had maybe like a few police officers with us, and we were spreading awareness, you know, just advising the drivers, you know, safe
I think
drinking.
I got one of those. You guys were handing out pamphlets at the yeah.
Yeah, so at NDOT, basically we provide education as well as prevention programs, and we also provide counseling for clients who struggle with drug use, not just alcohol, but drugs in general. We also work hand in hand with the communities for those individuals and families who are struggling, and we try to spread awareness as best as possible.
So here's the thing, Ariane. We have a serious alcohol culture in this country, right? When we are looking for recreational activities to do, men, women, teenagers, middle-aged people, the first thing we think about our bottle, right?
Yeah.
So we have conversations over bottles. If we're gonna go somewhere, someone have to provide the drinks. If not, we're buying it at the establishment or whatsoever. The point that I'm making is it's an innate part of who we are as Belizeans, right? But then NDAC exists to raise awareness and to kind of, you know, curb certain trends and behaviors as it sees fit. But from where I sit, it seems like a very, very difficult challenge, because you're trying to change a culture that has held grip on this country for as long as I know myself.
Yeah.
That's true, and see, that's the thing. At NDOT, we don't go around telling people don't drink. You know, we don't tell them don't drink, we don't tell them don't socialize, because the reality of it is that in Belize, drinking, that's something that's normalized. You know, so we don't go around telling people don't drink. We just ask that you be mindful. You know, just think about the amount that you're intaking, know your limits, know your boundaries. It is something that is difficult because, like you mentioned, you know, when you're socializing, the first thing you think about, oh, what we had drink, you know? Who to bring the bottle, you know? So it is something that is challenging, but it gets to a point. It gets to a point, and as an individual, you have to know your limits. But for us at NDAC, it is a bit challenging because this is something that is worldwide. But all we can do is just spread awareness and try our best, you know?
But here's an interesting observation, right? I was reading the other day, Americans are scaling back from drinking almost altogether to where a lot of the stores and places that would sell liquor aren't making any profits, but then Belizeans, we thirstier than ever. Right? If you're telling me we're in Alcohol Awareness Month in April, and we're hard on the heels of Easter, where alcohol was the thing.
All over,
We forget about Jesus on the cross, we worry about, you know, shots of tequila and so on. Again, it goes back to what I'm saying. It's part of our culture, and when it begins to affect productivity, when it begins to affect like family life and all these other facets of who we are as a people, then it becomes an issue, right? Your challenge or your task is to go out there and make sure that those who are vulnerable perhaps understand early on what the detriments of alcohol abuse is. Now, my question, right? Are you seeing that more and more younger people are being introduced to alcohol as opposed to perhaps people who are of age?
Most definitely. More and more we are getting children, you know, first it was adults and then teenagers, but now it's children as early as they're in primary school. I have experience with children as early as in standard 5.
Wow.
So, and then you ask them like, does your mom know that you drink? And yes, my mom gives it to me. We drink at home together.
See, and that is concerning, because there is this this idea that if I give it to you at home, then you don't go out looking for it on the street. But not as young as being in standard 5. That is a completely different level. And do you all do sort of...
That should be, that if it's not illegal,
yes,
it's
that's
completely
child abuse.
irresponsible.
That is child abuse. But do you all do educational campaigns? Do you all go to schools? What does that look like for NDOC?
Yes, we do. Remember at the start I did mention that we provide education. So we do have people who go into the schools, who go to like the fairs, who, even if a counselor from the school calls us and asks that we come in, maybe they're having trouble with maybe like just a group of students and they notice, okay, these students are drinking or these students are doing drugs, or even if they just suspect it or want to spread awareness, they would call us and ask that we send someone, and we go in and we do the presentations, we do everything as best as possible. But I like that you mentioned what you said about the parents, you know, because growing up, that's what you hear in Belize. You hear, okay, well, if I give it to you at home, you won't want to go outside and try it. But I think it's very misleading now, especially as an adult looking back and just focusing on the clients that I get. It's very misleading because it's to a point now where, yes, they taste it at home with their parents, but they're going out with their friends, they're purchasing it on their own, they're saving their lunch money to drink. You know, it's very misleading.
How much attention does your department or your unit pay to establishments that perhaps may be selling to minors?
See, in a case like that, it's hard for us to tell because they're not going to tell us where they got it from. You know, we can ask them, okay, well, did you purchase it yourself? Did someone give it to you? But we don't go as far as to ask them where exactly they got it from. And it's kind of risky, it's kind of challenging as well, because remember at NDOC, everything is confidential. So we want to spread awareness and we want to assist, but there is also that confidential and privacy part of it that we have to be careful with.
So when I look at the issue of alcoholism, there are so many other effects that come along with our decision to consume liquor, right? So when I start look on the number of fatal road traffic accidents and stuff like that, right? More often than not is because people are drinking and driving. You're beyond a particular limit, and then now you decide, okay, well, I'm ready to go home now. And your inhibitions are completely impaired, and then you're operating a vehicle, a motor vehicle, right? You look at, excuse me, issues of domestic violence, right? You're out, they drink out your peer, you're high out your head, now you're going home. When you reach home, you demand food, and you never put no money for no food get, you know, bought or prepared.
You don't pay your bills.
No bills and any plates. So all I'm saying is, you're looking at all of these ripple effects based on poor decisions that are made, right? And to me, and again, I make these observations, and to an extent, I myself, I hold myself responsible as well for some of the decisions there. But it's no longer, and if I were a child growing up, I'd say, only man drink that. Where I am today, and I look around, the women are as thirsty as us men. Like.
Yes, you'd actually be surprised because it's not, we don't only get male clients,
right?
You know, it's also females, it's children, it's versatile. It's very versatile, which is alarming. Which is scary as well, because like you mentioned of the long-term effects, you know, the short-term effects, it starts off a bit easy, you know, you just have problem with judgment, problem with decision making, and like your coordination. But then the long-term effects of it, when you see that it's affecting you individually, it's affecting your family, it's affecting your workplace productivity, and when it's even affecting public safety, you know, that's when it's to a point where, okay, I need to seek help.
There are certain myths about alcoholism, like you know, you take there was a comment here that says people use alcohol because of stress. They run to alcohol to reset and recharge rather than talking about their stress. But alcohol is a depressant, is an antidepressant, right? Like you get more depressed if you drink alcohol.
No, I think it's in the context of what we describe as escapism.
Yeah.
Right? You're trying to, you know, kind of like run away or hide from the issues before you, so you take to a bottle. But then you won't find the solutions at the bottom of the bottle.
Yeah.
You find a bigger problem, right?
Yeah. And that's also something that, you know, when I'm doing my counseling sessions, obviously I can't tell my clients what to do and how to do it, but it's just to get them to a point of realization, because with alcoholism and alcohol abuse, you know, a lot of people drink for different reasons. And it's very important for us to understand it too. Most people, or I should say some people, drink because they want to cope with stress, like you mentioned. They want to cope with trauma, or they want to be able to cope with emotional changes. Whereas they have other people that drink just as a form of socialization, because like we mentioned, that is normalized, you know. But when it starts to affect them, whereby it becomes like a dependency, that's when, you know, it becomes a problem. But it's very important to understand the tool and the reasons as to why people drink. But it's also even more so important for you to support them and not judge, because there are a lot of underlying issues that may play into the challenges people have as to why they drink alcohol.
I mean, we can get into some of the social factors as to why people do, but just before, it is a huge health concern as well, what alcohol does to the brain, what alcohol does to the liver and the kidneys. You know, it's very unhealthy. It is a toxic thing to put into your body, and I don't think that we talk about those realities enough either.
That's true, especially with the liver, you know, because, and then for the children especially, they see it as, oh, we're young, wild, and free, we're growing up, we're just having fun. But imagine you're drinking from you're in primary school. You know?
You know what I think it is, perhaps? For many young people, especially adolescents, it's almost like a rite of passage, right? Like,
be cool with
at some point, at some point, maybe 16 or whatever age, someone will decide, okay, you know what? It's time. I need to try this thing and see what all the hype is about, because eventually, when I graduate from high school or whatever, after prom or whatever, you're going out and then you'll be exposed to it. So we look at it as, you know, part of that rite of passage that most people go through. What we don't look at are the adverse effects of it, as you've mentioned, right? Physical health, mental health, financial well-being, because you're not cheap for drink.
No.
A lot of these considerations.
And then 250, 350 beers, eventually that bill does rack up. If you drink a beer a day, you know, that's 365 beers for the year, and well, you do the math.
I mean, especially for those.
She's my, you know, she watches the money.
I have to.
And I put it out like
in this economy, no. but it's true, right? You can't save a lot. I did have a friend one time that challenged himself to not buy any alcohol at all, and he would calculate how much he would save for the month. And it was a lot of savings, you know.
It is, because even something as simple as going to the bar, you know, just going to the bar and having maybe 2-3 drinks. It's going to add up.
$35 already. But let's go back to NDAC and how we can and how you can help spread awareness more. I know that you go to schools, you have your campaigns and so forth. But like Isani said, for some reason, we're just not getting the information as a culture. What do you think we need to do?
I think that, me personally, I think that we need to put shame aside. A lot of people are embarrassed to ask for help. A lot of them know that they need help, but they're scared for some reason, you know.
There's also denial, though.
Yes,
A lot of
some of
people
them are
remain
in
in
denial.
I don't have a drinking problem.
Yeah, a lot of like, oh, I good. I drink every day, but it's not a problem.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't get drunk.
I'm not drunk. I have my good sense. I know what I'm doing. These are the things that I hear constantly over and over, you know. But I think that the minute that we're able to put that pride and ego to the side and reach out and ask for help, even as a family member or a friend of that individual, you can do your part and reach out. With NDAC, you can contact us directly, or you can just walk in.
Yeah.
Where are you guys located?
41 Albert Street.
Okay.
As an outreach worker, how do you see the signs, or what are the signs to look for that somebody perhaps does have an alcohol problem?
When it starts to affect that individual, their family, and the workplace productivity. When it becomes a dependency, when they're struggling to stop, coming from someone who didn't have this problem in the past and they picked it up. And when also, a lot of times, when they start using alcohol as a way to cope, you know, something bad happens and they start drinking and they feel as if that made them feel better, it makes them numb, it makes them forget what they're feeling.
That's like with the idea of self-medicating, right?
Yes.
You try drink your way through a problem, figuring that at the end of it all, you'll see the light at the end of the road.
But it's still there.
Yeah.
It's still there at the end.
What are these, do some of these signs have any links to like other major drugs or NCDs?
Well, with alcoholism, I find, well, at NDAC, the only other drug I find it linked with would be marijuana. You know, a lot of people would smoke marijuana and take a drink. I have a client, he mentioned that he drank all day throughout the day, and then in the evening time he would smoke his weed. But you know, the alcohol is more of the problem for him, without realizing that, you know, marijuana is also a problem because you're using that as a way to cope as well.
But check this out, Ariane. So we're talking about drug abuse on a whole, right? And we've spent considerable time discussing alcoholism. But there's a serious issue that we're facing with marijuana consumption.
And tobacco consumption.
And tobacco, yes.
The vape.
We're going to the vape and the other stuff shortly. But when you look at what's happening, right? So we decriminalized a certain quantity of cannabis a few years ago, which I think is the most backward thing that I've ever seen, right? Because you have to be able, if you could grow it, to sell it, to consume it, right? So decriminalizing was putting the cart before the horse. Now we have a situation where a lot of young people now are consuming marijuana hand over fist, right? How are we addressing those problems?
With the marijuana, that is becoming something extremely alarming, even for me as a caseworker at NDAC. The children, the high school students, they have been finding their means when it comes to smoking marijuana, and they vape. In the past, I never thought that vape was something that popular to the extent of, you know.
It wasn't that popular in Belize, but we're seeing a rise.
It's becoming popular now because a lot of the students are being sent to us. They're being caught vaping at school, in the bathroom, or
and some would argue that it's even worse than smoking cigarettes, because when you look at the immediate effects of vaping versus the long-term effects of tobacco consumption, two different wavelengths, right?
Yes.
What is it about vaping though? Because from what I've understood, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, it's because it's scentless. You know, you have some that like smell like bubble gum and candy, and because they have this it doesn't have that smell, right? It doesn't have that smell of tobacco and so forth. They feel like it's harmless.
You're not wrong.
Okay.
You're not wrong.
Because that's how it's marketed. That's how it's pitched, right?
You're not wrong. I ask them all the time, you know, what's your reason for vaping? I like how you smell. I like the taste. Tastes like fruit.
Wow.
So they're doing it, but they're not educated enough to know that this isn't good for you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this from a very, very layman's perspective, right? I wouldn't be turned on by a woman who smokes cigarette because, like I would have tell myself, anybody who smokes cigarette got bad breath. That's the first thing I would tell myself, right? But if I see someone vaping and I know, smell bad, maybe then I could tell myself, well, okay, that could pass. That's cool, right? And I think perhaps that's, if not the prevailing thought, that's what a lot of people at least consider in a scenario where they're vaping. You know, as foul smelling or as uncool as smoking cigarettes. Right? And I think young people just always try to find something to to fit in and be cool about.
Yes, because they think that, okay, well, I'm not smoking marijuana, I'm not smoking weed, so let me replace it with vaping. Let me replace it. This isn't that bad. This is scented. This one is, more cool. So they feel that this is okay.
But it still affects the body the same way.
Vaping is a new teen spirit.
Yes.
That's very, very scary. So in terms of NDAC and where we can find more information about what you all do, and can people contact you guys to go to the schools and have conversations like this first? How can they do that?
Yes, they can reach us directly at our phone number. We have it online. They can call us or they can come in. We accept walk-ins. But if they like, they can call us and ask that we come in, let us know what the issue is or what the struggle is. Ask that we come in and we can send someone and try to assist as best as possible.
Wonderful. Well, Ariane, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
All right, Isani, where are we breaking to?
We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we return, it's all about BFLA and, of course, family planning and that hot topic that we've been discussing.
All right.
Tech Systems understand that technology isn't just a tool, it's a game changer. At home, smart devices and AI are revolutionizing daily life. In education, tech is making learning more interactive and accessible for students and educators alike. For businesses and government, it's driving innovation, streamlining operations, and unlocking growth, leveraging tech for better services, infrastructure, and security. At Full Tech Systems, we help you thrive with cutting-edge solutions, partnering with leaders like Dell, HP, Microsoft, APC, Fortinet, Cisco, and Tomy Inc. We deliver the right products for your needs, whether it's boosting efficiency, improving customer engagement, or scaling operations. Connect with us and let's drive innovation together. Full Tech Systems, your technology center, where you come for the price, but stay for the service.
Introducing BB Insurance, built for Belize. Your security, our priority.
Hi, I'm Ava.
And I'm Aiden. We're your AI guides to all things NHI.
In this video, we will guide you on how to become an NHI member. You, and if you have a child, must have a Social Security card. To get an SSB card is easy. Visit socialsecurity.org.bz/card-replacement to view the required documents that are needed.
There is a fee of only $5 Belize dollars for a first-time issue and $26 Belize dollars for a replacement card. Newborns can use their mother's SSB card for up to 2 months.
With your SSB card, you and all family members can register at any NHI contracted clinic of your choice.
You and members of your family can now access health care when needed.
Please note that once you are registered with a clinic, you must go to that same clinic when you need medical care. Look out for more NHI guides like this.
Haven't updated your information recently? Well, kick off the new year as a winner. RF&G Insurance is giving you a free chance to win every month. Entering is easy. Just chat with us on WhatsApp and update your information. That's it. You'll be automatically entered into our monthly raffle for a chance to win awesome prizes. Don't wait. Message us on WhatsApp and update your info today. RF&G Insurance. It pays to get it right.
Protect your motor, secure your property. Oh yeah, Home Protector Insurance got you covered, you see. Covered, you see. From motor to property, and even marine. We'll keep you safe no matter where you've been. No matter where you've been, no matter where you've been. Get the peace of mind that only we can bring. Oh yeah. With our insurance, you will never fret or sing. Never fret or sing. We offer bonds and so much more. So much more. Home Protector Insurance. We got what you're looking for. What you're looking for. Secure your...
Mornings with the kids are always busy, but having the space we need makes life easier. With the Jack T8, we have the comfort, reliability, and space we need. With fully breathable leather seats, 6-speed manual transmission, 9-inch LCD screen with Apple CarPlay and Android, 4-cylinder, fully turbo diesel, and space for my entire family. We can count on Jack to get us there safely and comfortably.
And welcome back. Our second conversation this morning is an extension of a conversation that we've been having since last week, Friday, which has to do with contraception, family planning, and everything that's been happening in the Ministry of Health and Wellness. We have with us this morning the Executive Director of the Belize Family Life Association, Ms. Joan Burke. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
So, BFLA is also weighing in on this ongoing conversation. And it is primarily from the point of view of family planning, if I'm not mistaken, correct? Let's start there, Ms. Joan. Let's talk about the position that you guys have taken now that this whole move is underway for prescriptions to be offered prior to purchasing contraceptives.
Okay, good morning, and thanks so much for having me. I want to go back to the history of BFLA and why we started in Belize, right? And this was in June of 1985, where you have, well, there were so many young girls who were getting pregnant, they don't have access, and these girls were basically forced to cohabit with their male partners, very often much older than they were. And so their lives just became so complicated. They had large families, girls were not allowed back into the schools. And so you had large families with little resources. And so we looked at family planning, or what we call family planning commodities, to be accessible to women and girls. It's also a part of empowerment, not only for the female herself, but for her whole family. And access means that there are no barriers for a person to access contraceptive methods. It means then that we must, and BFLE, we tried our best to ensure that that enabling environment is always there, which means then that the person is well informed to access when accessing the contraceptives.
How has that been able to play out from the start of BFLA to now?
Well, we see, if you look at the history, we have seen a decrease in family size, right? We have seen a significant reduction in adolescent pregnancies, especially in certain areas of the country. Areas where access is greater than in other areas. And we look at issues such as incest. We are seeing an increase, for example, in child brides in Belize. And so in these areas where access is limited, we are seeing an increase in adolescent pregnancies. As a matter of fact, when we talk about adolescent pregnancies, Belize is third in the region behind the Dominican Republic and Guyana. And so the ensuring that we have no barriers to access. We understand the Ministry of Health as a regulatory body, and we respect that. We work along with the ministry, but we cannot support an initiative, an attempt to deny or to put all these barriers. We are governed, not governed, but we endorse, we are guided by the World Health Organization standards. That's a gold standard that we use. And we look throughout the region where there are best practices. So yes, Ministry of Health is saying that this is something that existed for a while. But then look at what are the best practices where we got the best results. And so that is our position.
You believe that there was a substantial assessment of this exact same information that you're talking about, and overall analysis of where we are as a country when it comes to teenage pregnancies, child bride, adolescent pregnancies, the misuse of contraceptives and the misuse of contraception in certain rural areas. Do you think there was a proper assessment done to ensure that then this regulation would benefit everybody?
I don't know. And I want to say, I don't know if there could be a misuse of contraceptives.
I mean, if you don't know how to take it, and if you miss it, tantan.
Right.
Right.
Right. And so my question is, who was at the table when the discussions
So we're talking,
were held?
excuse me, just for clarity's sake, we're talking about consultation, not necessarily an assessment.
Yeah.
Right? Just for the benefit of our viewers.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead.
So who was at the table? Right? We have, for example, the Belize Medical and Dental Association, we have the Nurses Association, we have the Pharmacy Association, we have all these women's organization, you have BFLA, you have the representatives from NHI. I really don't know who was at the table during these consultations. What evidence was being used? What information? Was this an informed decision? Right? Did we look at all the different aspects and how this is going to impact? In, I think it was 2025, there was a contraceptive unmet need, because in the region, what they do is to look at, okay, what is the contraceptive unmet need? And in 2025, our unmet need was at 15%, whilst the rest of the region was at 11%.
Yeah.
And we say we want to decrease this margin of unmet need. Is this new policy going to do that?
Yeah.
My question is this policy going to do that? The Ministry of Health has a mission to provide the highest standard of care and the most affordable care and services and increase access. Is this policy going to do that?
Yeah.
Joining us this morning is also Michelle Irving. She's the founder and the coordinator of the Productive Organization for Women in Action, otherwise known as POWER. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Thanks for being a part of this conversation. So we're talking about women's health primarily in the context of family planning and of course the decisions taken by the government recently. It's the talk of the town. We want to get your perspective on this. We've heard from Ms. Joan. We want to hear your perspective as POWER.
Okay, hi, good morning, and good morning, Belize, and thanks very much for having me here to continue to advocate for women's rights. I think it's more than just women's health. Of course, we're all concerned about women's health. I mean, that's what we do on a day-to-day basis. We give women information about how best to take care of themselves, including HIV prevention, unwanted pregnancy prevention, cervical cancer, breast cancer, hypertension, diabetes. And so that's a major part of our outreach, because we know if you're not healthy, you're not able to do much. So I think that when we look at women and their access to health care, we see that women are very well placed. They access health care. They take care of their body the best they could, because they realize that they're also usually the mothers and grandmothers, and so they try their best. And so when we think about access to care, women really, we're in a better place than even our male counterparts, all right?
We actually go to the doctor.
And so we actually go to the doctor. And so I don't feel, to me, that this policy is to address women's health. In fact, I could suggest to the ministry at least 10 ways how to better address women's health. And that is, for example, to have access to good care in terms of going to the hospital. I have friends who go to the hospital all the time, take their tests, and then the doctor forget to say that they had an infection, so they don't get the antibiotic necessary because the doctor didn't look in the system to see what result came out. So they're suffering for months and months and months. And as a part of our team, we also have a medical professional that volunteers with us. And so we often have to call them and ask, this person is having these symptoms, this person is having that symptom, they've been to the hospital, they don't have no results, they don't have the medication, basic medication, for example. So provision of basic medication, appropriate health care. Our health care is marginal at best.
Yeah.
And so even as advocates, we have to keep, like I said, advocating with other people, and they would say, well, try this, tell her to try this, or go here or go there. So if the Ministry of Health really want to see about women's health, they could start in their health facilities, for example, and not trying to control our sexual and reproductive rights. Now, women have many challenges accessing contraceptive. I remember going to a workshop, and this lady, she was from a distant village, and her main concern throughout, because we were all busting, her major concern was just to stop at the pharmacy. Could you let them stop at the pharmacy for me? Could you let them stop at the pharmacy for me? She came about 3 times, 5 times, even though I assured her we will stop. Then she tell me, whisper in my ears, I have to get my pills.
Yeah.
Right? And so she now having permission, because many of these women who we're talking about have to seek permission from their partner to go to a women's workshop. So maybe, yes, they get the permission to go there, but they find the opportunity now to sneak in to get their contraceptive. Because we have to remember that women in a patriarchal system is severely controlled. And I don't think that we realize how gender-based violence affects us so pervasively. So pervasively, because now that some of the things we take for granted, right, that the man has that permission over your body. And so the other day I was just in a village in the St. Creek district, and somebody said, well, you know, my friend wanted to come, but your man no make it come. For example, things like that. So now when women have to access these things, sometimes when they go to the grocery store, they run across to the pharmacy, they pick up the thing, they hide it, right? We have known cases where sometimes you have to literally hide the birth control pills and vitamins.
Yes.
Bottle, yes.
Let me pause for a second and ask a question. Internalizing everything that you're sharing with us, right? Is it then that the idea of contraception is still very much a taboo subject where men aren't as liberal in their way of thinking when it comes to women and their use of birth control pills or other drugs or other means?
Well, let me say this.
Yes.
The short answer is yes, and the long answer is control goes with everything. Control goes with where you sleep, what you eat, and what you have access to. You know, we have had stories, really, women can't go. I have one case, the child ended up deaf, had an ear infection because the mother couldn't take the child to the health center to seek health care because the father wouldn't allow it, right? So when you factor in you have, you know, availability and accessibility, but the major issue here is access, right? Women's access to doctors to get a prescription, right? That's the issue.
Yeah.
Because when you have to choose between, for example, I live in Dangraga, well known, you know, we're from Dangraga. I was up this morning making my way through, thanks to the coastal highway, I have to say. But you live at a remote area, even in town, where you have a hospital. You know, it's sometimes 3 miles away for people who live in the town. So that require a taxi. For example, you know how many times as an organization we have to use our access to transportation to go and shuttle people to and from the hospital. So now that is an additional burden to get to the hospital, and these are for issues we're dealing with, such as cancer, such as HIV, such as other chronic conditions that people need support to get to the hospital. All right? So when you factor that in as well, obviously birth control pills will be down on the list of things for you to go to get a prescription for. Not to factor in the time away from work, your hustle. Many times women work all the time because you have unpaid work, but you also have informal hustle, right? That you will do, right, to make sure that ends meet. You make Johnny cake for sale, you babysit to 2 children, you understand me? You are doing other things, and so now you will have to left that, and you know what it is to get an appointment at the hospital. You know how long you have to wait at the hospital. You know the time that you have to spend at the hospital. So it's not free. It costs a great deal. It's not free. So it's not like we have access to doctors at community spaces, in community centers that every nook have access. So they should, if they want to impose this kind of system, they should strengthen your access to doctors, you know, and professional at that, because since you're saying that you are specialized doctor, that you are concerned about women's health, then you should show us that you are concerned with women's health.
You both, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
And I want to go back to Isani's question. Just on Friday, and when we talk about the matter of control, just on Friday I had a conversation with a young lady who had to do a cesarean delivery. And I mean, she had a complicated pregnancy. And it was she had a miscarriage first and then a successful birth. And she said, I wanted a tie-off because I know I don't want any more children. And the doctor said, did you consult with your husband? This is a Friday.
Yeah.
Right? So it goes to say, we are still, 50 years behind, right? Where we don't have that choice.
Yeah.
Like Michelle said, there's somebody there who is trying to control.
Yeah.
And so putting in such a policy, and when we are, and as I mentioned earlier, we use the WHO as our gold standard. WHO just, I think, was in 2023 or 2024, made a recommendation to have what we called maybe other skilled professional besides doctors to be able to provide family planning services, because they recognize the need for increased access. What I have here is the WHO, the contraceptive wheel that is being used. And so the nurse in the community can use that, because I am all for an initial consultation. That is necessary. And what this wheel does for us is that there are specific questions that are being asked, and based on your responses, the healthcare provider can say, okay, you can use a single dose, the injection is good for you, the whatever hormonal method is good for you. Right? Because, and we are now, I'm disappointed that over-the-counter list was provided. The rest of the region has moved from that. No other country release over-the-counter. There's an essential list of medication. It is called the essential list. And on that list, you have hormonal, right? And so everybody is using that now.
So it's a step backward as opposed to being progressive.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a step back. It's a big step backward. I am utterly surprised. I really disappointed in a way, very disappointed to see that when regionally, and the thing is, I was coming home and I was thinking, I said the only issue here is that people that are poor, and we know that almost 50% of our country is poor, right? Classified as being poor, will suffer, because my friend called me with this. It wasn't the contraceptive, it was just before, like the hypertension and other medication. And she says, I got me now, I don't got time for work with them. I got a chetomal, and I get my everything from chetomal, and I couldn't walk when I'm not a Belize. I couldn't walk at that chetomal. I run up on a step just now. I said, so my doctor did a chetomal, and I could go get my medicine anytime. They don't ask me for one paper, and all where I want to buy. If I want to buy 6 months supply, I could buy me 6 months
But the reality is, not many of us
that is
can
what I am telling you.
Yes.
But people who are making this policy have the same idea, maybe like me. If personally, if I never have to listen to women's story every day. So my plight here is to say that women who are unable. I could tell you, I could give you a million stories. If you sit with me the whole day and your mouth will open. My mom used to say, "Oh, Mish, I never used to think that those things used to happen." He said, until you became a social worker and you begin to dig in the lives of women. I couldn't believe that these things would be happening.
Yeah.
And this is to show you how out of touch we are with the realities of women's and girls' lives and our reproduction rights, and to say how much children we want, and for a doctor in 2026 to be asking you if you consulted your husband. This is your body. When you go through a pregnancy, we used to always say from we smart, right, that between life and death, and that is so true. Many women could come, including myself, and give you the story of how we reached the death door having delivered a baby.
So there was a comment, from our Facebook viewers that asked about access to information and how much the regulators did any sort of not just consultation but research, right? And I understand you both represent very prominent organizations, that would have this data. And so I have to ask, were you asked about this data?
No. We were not consulted. We were not. And I believe something as drastic as this, also public consultation. Hear from the women who are the users. Hear from women who will be affected, will be affected by this. I mean, we have so much evidence. I applaud those who were involved during COVID to make that decision. We, BFLA, we didn't get a sweetheart pass. But it was a given. We were able to traverse the entire country because the decision was made that they will not disrupt the provision of sexual and reproductive health services. And a part of that was providing contraceptives. Whilst there was this concern that there would have been a baby boom after COVID because everybody lock up together, right? Everybody lock up together. But it didn't happen. It didn't happen because Michelle is here. Even emergency contraceptive sent to Mish, right? We went from district to district with the support of UNFPA, part of the package. So no contraceptives here because we are on the ground and we know the realities.
Right, and some of them we had to hide. If we had to hide, some of them we give a book, the contraceptive in the book, right? And so because these were the realities, and like you said, even without sweetheart pass, we went throughout villages and throughout the district and throughout far to reach places.
Some women wanted their contraceptives before food.
So you guys have this data that is readily available for the ministry to take and use in order to make the decisions that they need.
And some of it, right, whilst it could be anecdotal, but we subscribe to World Health Standards, right? Consult. We have the data available even within the region. We have the information at our health clinics. There's NHI. Yes, I know they talk about the rollout and NHI's the rollout of NHI. What we don't want, we don't need a policy that state that you need a prescription. You're putting additional burden. We already don't have our doctors to provide other consultation. And now we are asking a physician to sit down and write a prescription. I see within the Ministry of Health, the release, it said something about, you could get your prescription and you can actually do a year, right? To a year supply. You can go into a pharmacy. Who can afford that? And you know what we are creating? We are creating an environment for black market.
That's the same thing I thought about.
Because if I can afford to go and buy, because you talk about people coming from Melchor, and when you see the leak on the thing, exactly, you start to find contraceptive in biscuit packs because people will find a way. People will find a way.
All right, so to wind down the conversation, right, at least from my humble perspective here, it seems as if though this decision and this move seems a bit more counterproductive than it is something where we're actually seeing the benefits of it. But we haven't officially heard from the Ministry of Health and Wellness on this as yet, save for a statement that was issued over the weekend. But this has been a very, very enlightening conversation. At least I take away from, as a man, a lot that I would not have thought of before.
That. I really do like that. And
we applaud you for that.
I ask you to speak to other men to understand that women's health and right to decision about their body and their health is also an issue that for men, because when we don't have, when you die in childbirth, when you have a complicated pregnancy, it affects the other children, it affects your partner, you understand, it affects your sexual life, for example. And so these are all the things that you have to think about, even if it's, I don't want to say selfishly, but community, men and women together understand that, you know, this is an issue. You have to, whenever even factoring issue of, they say, for example, the EC will be over the counter, the emergency Joan is shaking her head, which we all know that we don't want the overuse of that. We want people to get an assessment, get on a method that is affordable, accessible to them, right? And ensure that they do their checkup annually and make sure that everything is going well, because using EC, overusing that, you hear in an emergency. And now people will find it accessible because they don't need a prescription, they don't and they will overuse it. So we encourage people, exactly. Right. So we encourage people, you know, that's why we encourage the Ministry of Health to, one, revisit this decision, right?
We want them to reverse
At least,
we want it to be reversed.
Listen, I said revisit and then reverse, because we will continue our advocacy to ensure that women have easy access, right, and availability for contraceptive. This is what we do. And so this is what we want.
Thank you, ladies, so much for joining us this morning. We are completely out of time, but the conversation doesn't stop here. We know that people are still out there talking about this, and we hope, like you said, get a chance to get a statement from the Ministry of Health and Wellness to revisit some of the statements that you guys made. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we take a quick break, and when we return, it's all about the Holistic Health in Focus at the SDA event. You don't want to miss that. We'll be right back.
Smart for everybody. Smart leading everything. Smart give you everything. Smart offer everything. Smart give you everything. North to the east and the south and the west. Smart are the best. Darling, double up my data and give me all the text. In fact, give me a plan for my family. Unlimited calls, so me like it. And Smart make everybody feel happy. Bringing people together, me want it now. Smart got love for everybody. Me want my Smart plan. Want it right now. Me want my Smart plan. Want it right now. More bundles, data plan. Me want my smartphone, internet in my hand. Cause me want my Smart plan. Want it right now. Smart. Stay connected. Stay happy.
Look here, your kitchen light there, and you been in the kitchen.
Mama going back in there right now.
And the coffee maker?
Just to try keep my coffee warm for later.
Where do you know?
I'll try to think about what to eat.
You know, the more you open or close the fridge, it takes longer for the food cool. For a hot day like today, it burns more energy. You charge your phone right now?
No.
Plug it out then. You really only wash 2 Lee socks and 1 Lee shirt? You don't know what small load burn the same amount of electricity as large loads?
But this is my favorite shirt.
You have to be more energy efficient. Use large loads. This AC, they blow hard. You know, if you keep the temperature at 25 degrees Celsius or higher, you burn less energy and you also keep the place cool. And for a nice day like today, turn off the AC, open up the house and make some fresh breeze come in.
You know what? I think I get it now. As consumers, we need to be more energy efficient and practice energy conservation.
What happens when you step off the edge?
Too late to back out now. He said I'm ready. No, I'm not.
And land somewhere unexpected. Sometimes it breaks you open. Wild at root,
That is very bitter.
but sweet on the tongue. Where history calls out, and you answer with open arms. This isn't just a journey, it's across borders.
That was amazing!
The future is calling. Belize Bank. Your future, our commitment.
Welcome back to Open Your Eyes, and we're discussing holistic health in focus, and it is led by the Seventh-day Adventists, and we have with us Dr. Al Powell, and he is the president of the Belize Union of Seventh-day Adventists. Good morning.
Good morning.
And we also have joining him Ilario Davis, and he is the president of Central Belize Mission. Good morning. And Doug Batchelor, and he's the president of Amazing Facts. Gentlemen, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much.
So let us discuss the necessity of a holistic health fair in Belize. Let's start with you, Doc.
Well, as we look at the situation in many of the countries in Central America, especially Belize, we see challenges with prevalence of lifestyle diseases and sicknesses. And for that reason, we see diabetes, we have hypertension, you have cancer, rise of cancer, and other associated sicknesses, obesity. And as a result of that, you know, we look at it as a church and we say, how can we help? How can we help? And a church has a history of, you know, intervention with help and giving aid, because we focus on not just one particular area, the spiritual, but we look at other aspects to guide a person with their holistic health. And for that reason, you know, the health fair, and not only that, but giving medical care that is necessary, is where we saw it as a church where Belize could benefit on the whole. And that's why we say, let's focus to see what we can do to contribute as a church with sponsors like Amazing Facts that specialize in this area, as they come in to help us with over 200 persons from their organization. And we have doctors and specialists, pediatricians, we have gynecologists, dentists, general doctors, to help in this particular event. So this is where we say, let us see how we can do to help the need in Belize.
So let's hear from you, Doug, about Amazing Facts and how you were able to collaborate with the SDA.
Well, to understand it, I probably need to just explain Amazing Facts is a combination of a media ministry that's been around for 60 years now, where my wife went to the hotel room last night, she turned on the TV, and there we were. So we've been on, it was kind of fun. So we were on TBN, we're on 3ABN, we're on Faith FM radio. So we've been in the country. Karen and I have been here 4 times. So there's the media ministry, and then we have a church. And the Granite Bay Church has about 1,500 members in Northern California. And we tell the church that our mission, Jesus said, go.
Yeah.
He said, Jesus went and he healed and he taught. We have a lot of professional medical people. So once a year we pick a place. And so I told our senior pastor, Belize is a great country. It's not very far from the U.S.
Yeah.
We can come and minister there, and if folks want to stay a couple of days, you got a great diving reef. So it wasn't a hard sell for us. That's why we have 200 people helping with the medical work.
Yes.
They're doing some construction, some children's education, and all the various ministries.
Yes.
It's a delight to work with these gentlemen too.
Wonderful. How does Central Belize Mission play its role?
Well, good morning to our viewers, and thanks for having us this morning. Well, Central Belize Mission has the goal as well to holistic health, and we believe in the spiritual as well as the physical. The Bible says that God wants us to prosper spiritually as well as in our health. And thinking on that, we thought about how can we do something for our community. Central Belize Mission look over the entire district of Belize, including the Keys, and we started to think and pray, and someone said, why not call Amazing Facts for them to come and partner with us? And that's how we get along, so we could do something for Belize district.
So what are we looking at in terms of this particular health fair? Where is it taking place? How many days? What access do Belizeans have to this particular event?
Well, it's going to be actually today, so those of you that are listening or watching, just show up at 10 o'clock at the Civic Center in Belize City. We're going to be running from 9, usually 9 to 5, all from the 13th to the 16th. So that's from Monday to Thursday this week. And it's going to be exciting because there are various aspects of this health fair. We have a preventative care where we're going to be sharing persons how they can assist themselves, not just depend on doctors. So the 2 aspects, the preventative care, and then we have specialists to help individuals. So there's also a unique flavor with this one. Pastor Doug can talk about the 8th health laws, what we can do using fresh air, simple things, fresh air, sunlight, moderation, temperance, and then we have the nutrition aspect of it, rest, and then we are trust in God and others. So these are aspects that we want persons to know. You could do this for yourself if you just know what to do. And even with some of the simple things, I love Belize, and I see that the rice and beans is a popular dish.
Yes.
I enjoy it. But some people might not recognize that rice and beans is good, but in moderation.
Yes.
Because people say if I eat too much sweets, I can get type 2 diabetes. But these refined foods can cause it just as well. So, trying to enlighten persons of what they can do to help themselves. And then, the specialists that have come in, if you go by, you'll see a fantastic setup at the Civic Center. We have all the rooms that are there. We have a mobile clinic for dentistry, chairs all over. We have brought in special beds for the gynecologists, pediatric care, and so forth. So it's going to be amazing. We invite all of our community to come. Also, there's the flavor with the special taste test competition with healthy food, Pastor Doug.
Yes.
So persons that come in can win a prize for having combined a very creative, healthy food, which is going to go along with the competition on a daily basis. So it's going to be a lot of excitement. And there's even a prayer room for persons that are just stressed out, not knowing what to do. We want to let you know that there's power in prayer and God answers prayer. So We're starting at 10 with the official inauguration, with a press meter with the government and so forth, to inaugurate the program just today.
And then you'll be on for the rest of the week?
For the rest of the week.
Okay. Can persons just come?
It is, and we say, because it's free, all free.
Yes.
Okay.
So people need to come. We have tried to set things up a little bit April, so that people could be in multi areas, not just waiting on a specialist. And this will help with the number of persons. We're going to try to attend all of the persons that come.
Yeah.
But just expect a waiting list. Expect to know that there may be some challenges, but it's free for the community, and we're happy to embrace this moment.
Amen.
Excellent.
Gentlemen, this is very enlightening, and I would hope that more people from the outer part, I know it's only in Belize, but they have an entire week to get here.
Well, in fact, what Pastor Davis mentioned, initial thought was for his mission, but we looked at it as I'm the leader of the entire Belize. We said we need to embrace all Belizeans to come in. So this is not just for the district of Belize. This is persons from all over Belize can come and receive this benefit. So if you feel that you're coming into town and you'd like to drop by to get medical attention, feel free. First come, first serve. And we are trying our best to cater and to let people enjoy themselves on this special mission adventure.
Wonderful. Final words, gentlemen, as we wrap up our conversation this morning. Let's hear from you, Pastor Doug.
And again, thank you for having us. I'll just tell you from past experience, a lot of people that come to the event said, I wish I had known sooner that we have some of the world's best doctors, dentists, health professionals providing free service. After people come, they say, how come we didn't know about this? And it just changes their lives, it lengthens their lives. There's a health epidemic in the world. In the US, you have it in Belize, where people are, if you live long enough, you'll die. But people are getting sick earlier and suffering unnecessarily because of lifestyle. They're going to be learning how to have longer and more abundant life and how to be healed through lifestyle changes.
Yes.
Mr. Larry?
We are so grateful that we can be a blessing to our Belizean community. We are happy to serve. And I was spying on the preparation and the setup last night. I said, man, this just looked like in a hospital. I said, this is amazing. And his guys, they did it like this. And I said, wow, this looks good. So if you missed out, really, you will miss out something great.
Okay, so you have from Monday, April 13th, all the way to April 16th to Thursday to head on over to Belize Civic Center.
From 9 to 5. Even they are even going further. They are attending people during lunch hour.
Yes.
I don't know how they do that, but
they will get it done. Yes. Gentlemen, thank you so much, and best of luck on this endeavor. I think it's going to be for a great cause. Thank you.
I wanted to just say one thing. We also want to thank the government because they're the ones that made it possible with all of the clearances, and they're supporting us with their team of doctors and so forth. So it's a partnership. It's not just the Seventh Adventist Church. We believe in partnership with the government, with the community. So we're here to serve, and we want to thank the various parties, the volunteers, Amazing Facts, and we look forward to having a grand occasion.
Beautiful. All right. With that, we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, it's all about Drinks by Moons as they bring a new flavor to the scene.
Updated your information recently? Well, kick off the new year as a winner. RF&G Insurance is giving you a free chance to win every month. Entering is easy. Just chat with us on WhatsApp and update your information. That's it. You'll be automatically entered into our monthly raffle for a chance to win awesome prizes. Don't wait. Message us on WhatsApp and update your info today. RF&G Insurance. It pays to get it right.
Galenia Hospital, located in Cancun, Mexico's premier tourism destination, is a state-of-the-art healthcare facility that provides highly specialized medical services. We are Quintana Roo's biggest private hospital with board-certified doctors and staff. Some of our services include cath lab, adult intensive care unit, neonatal intensive care unit, emergency rooms, operating theaters, ambulance services, and more. We are a medically accredited hospital by JCI, Accreditation Canada International, and General Health Council, providing extraordinary care in every specialty, from our cardiology department to our neurology center. We are focused on treating the entire person, body, mind, and spirit. Contact us at medicaltourism@hospitalgalenia.com or visit our website at www.hospitalgalenia.com. Come to Galenia Hospital in Cancun for a truly personal medical care experience.
Connection isn't something you switch on. It's something you build together.
Connected through culture.
Culture isn't preserved in silence. It's kept alive through participation.
Connected through education.
Education doesn't always look like a classroom. Sometimes it looks like someone taking the time to teach and someone else choosing to learn.
Connected through sports.
Before the win, before the applause, there's belonging. Here, young people learn more than how to play. They learn how to stand together.
Connected through community.
Community isn't a campaign, it's showing up. Not once, but every time it matters.
Connected through you.
Behind every connection is a person who cares, people who listen, people who stay. We don't just connect services, we connect you to your world.
Connected through every chapter.
Smart, bringing people together.
And welcome back. Joining me for the final conversation this morning is Jaimon Roberts. He is the proprietor of Drinks by Moons, right?
Yes, sir.
Good morning, my brother.
Yes, good morning. It's nice to be here.
Nice having you here.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about what we have in front of us this morning. We have a series of 4 different drinks. Let's talk about Drinks by Moons and let's talk about what we have in front of us.
All right, Drinks by Moon. That is a cocktail bar, well, mobile bar actually. I did all over the place, mixing the drinks where people prefer. No, so up here we have margaritas. I specialize in mixing drinks. So my hobby is giving drinks, but with different flavors. All different flavors you could imagine. I convert it into a delicious cocktail. Right?
Yeah. So tell me how this all came about. So you're a bartender. I see you have on a proper vest there. That means you've been in this business for some time or you have some knowledge of this business. How did you come up with the idea to launch your own drinks?
Well, actually, I was always working as a bartender for different establishments across Belize. And I just have a sweet touch without measuring just freelancing poor. So I come about having my own business because I usually do it at home parties, family gatherings, and I became very good at it. So I just decided to start it off small, and the people at Belize just love it. So I just develop bigger and bigger, and this.
So how do you perhaps cater to an audience with diverse tastes, right? So you have people who perhaps okay with their four, but they want to try something exotic. How do you meet those demands?
I just basically feel what the person like, and I just put it into work. For example, I have the mobile trailer comes with everything.
Yeah.
I have a menu with specific drinks on it, but if you come want something that is not on the menu, definitely I could still give you that.
All right, so what has the experience been like? You have a mobile trailer, as you said. You're traveling around the city, around the country, selling your product. What has that been like in terms of the demand for people to purchase mixed drinks, ready-made mixed drinks?
For me, just the feedback. I mean, I get healthy feedbacks. I get some harsh feedbacks. I mean, I love the harsh feedbacks that develop me to do better.
Yeah.
The people, when they taste my...
They say have to have thick skin when they get feedback from people,
definitely.
Right? The good and the bad. Go ahead.
When I started off, people never really know about me and what I do, but everybody know about a margarita, a good tasting margarita.
Yes, they do.
For me, I could get a sour sap and turn it into a wicked margarita. And when I go places, that just how I present myself. I always laugh, always they interact with my customers, just creating a vibe. You know, people are drink for different reasons.
Yes.
Right? But one of the reasons where people call to me for drink is because you have something for your mind with the bug. You have a good cocktail, and also I engage you for like forget what you go through. I give you advice, you give me advice, and we just collaborate like just one big family.
That sounds good. So aside from these 4 flavors, I stick to these 4 flavors because I'm not so much of a margarita guy, right? But I do respect a nice margarita nonetheless. Aside from these flavors, what would you say is the most in demand? Most of the times you go out there, people ask for one particular thing. What would that be?
The flavored margarita, or the men, the whiskey sour.
Okay. All right, yeah, whiskey sour, could do that.
That they grow. Females mostly like female stuff, so I just cater for them. But for the males not really have a specific thing when they like besides stout and beers. But I have whiskey sour. I have some other drinks where I create from scratch, meaning I create it. They're not really sure about it, but I definitely believe when they taste it, then they come back.
Yeah. How do we find you? Outside of perhaps a chance you to drive past with a mobile trailer, how else can we find you? And where do you have like an online Facebook account or some social media presence where people could find out about Drinks by Moon?
Yeah, I have a Facebook page listed on Drinks by Moon as well. My contact number is 609-1031. I just use the social media for like promoting and so forth. But within city, I had a very known youth. I normally located by BTL Park, between the 2 clubs. Or right now I have a stand-up bar where I just create, and that located from Vernon Street, right adjacent from Swift Hall.
Okay.
So every Saturday, that way I interact with the crowd over that side, and I just keep it consistent. I mean, it's crazy because one Saturday I missed due to Easter, and I get a lot of harsh remarks. I mean, like Easter, not everybody have money for travel different places, so that me them they're looking forward to say, wow, we're going to chill the moon, and you know, I never show up, and I get it good.
You heard about it.
Yes.
So that means that your product and your services are in demand, right? People want
then one of the thing is my products not cost a lot. right? One of my margarita bottle, that only 14. If you catch me live, that only 12.
Yeah.
So, what whiskey sour we know kind of expensive, that only $12.
Yeah.
Wow. Panther with cheap aroma coke, that only 6. So you could call enjoy on budget and still feel good.
Nice, nice. What word would you have to any of our viewers right now to either taste what you have or to, you know, find out where you're located? So sell yourself to our viewers.
Well, I mean, I could kick your taste bud good. One drink could make you feel like you've been out all night. Definitely, one of these bottles could make you feel like you could have more confidence in yourself. I mean, my drink, how I make it, I put my love, my passion for what I do into my drink. So when you drink it, you drink exactly how I feel without me having telling you how I feel.
Yeah.
So if, for example, you come over this morning feeling down, take a sip of margarita for a moon, and I feel like, you know, untouchable. You could do everything, you know.
All right, excellent. It's been a short conversation, Jaimon, but a meaningful one nonetheless, right? So what I want to do is I want to end off by saying and reminding our viewers that you have to drink responsibly. It is Alcohol Awareness Month, and while yes, we have this conversation this morning and premiering some drinks, you have to be able to do so responsibly. You're not only doing so for yourself, but for other people, all right? Your loved ones, for anybody else who you may come in contact with as well. So I'll toss it over to April, and April will wrap the show up for us this morning. Go ahead, April.
Thank you all so much for joining us this morning. We want to say a big thank you to all of our guests that came in and had the conversation with us. And of course, a big thank you to you, our viewers, because without you, this would not be possible. It is April 13th, and if you have a birthday happening today, happy birthday to you. And if you have a birthday shout out or just a question or a comment, you can drop us a line right here at oye@greaterbelize.com. You can also catch us on our Facebook page at Open Your Eyes BZ, and check out our highlights on Instagram at OYE Belize. You can also find us on TikTok at OYE Belize. And we also have a WhatsApp number where you can call us and text us at 675-2555. But please do us a favor and join us again tomorrow, Tuesday, when you open your eyes to start your morning right. Till then, keep your eyes, your minds, and your hearts wide open. Good morning, Belize. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country, your bank, and SMART, bringing people together.